Captain Marcus Stone had served the royal family for 12 years, but he had never seen the palace corridors buzz with such tension. As the head of Princess Elena's security detail, he noticed everything: the way servants whispered in corners, how certain staff members avoided eye contact, and most concerning of all, the sudden changes in the princess's daily routine. The morning started like any other, with Marcus conducting his routine security briefing in the east wing of Ravencrest Palace. The ancient stone walls had witnessed centuries of royal intrigue, but something felt different today. Princess Elena, usually punctual for her morning ride, had cancelled without explanation. This was the third cancellation this week, and Marcus's instincts told him something was wrong. "Sir, the Queen requests your presence in the blue drawing room," announced Lieutenant Sarah Mitchell, one of Marcus's most trusted guards. Her voice carried an unusual edge that made Marcus look up from his security reports. Sarah had been with the Royal Guard for 8 years, and she rarely showed emotion while on duty. Marcus made his way through the marble corridors, his boots echoing against the polished floors. Portraits of past monarchs watched from their golden frames as he passed. The blue drawing room was Queen Catherine's private meeting space, where she conducted her most sensitive discussions away from the formal throne room. As he approached, Marcus could hear muffled voices through the heavy oak doors. "Enter," came the Queen's authoritative voice after his knock. Queen Catherine sat behind an ornate mahogany desk, her silver hair perfectly arranged and her blue eyes sharp with calculation. She was known throughout the kingdom for her intelligence and political acumen. But today something darker flickered in her expression. "Captain Stone, I need to discuss Princess Elena's security arrangements," the Queen began, her fingers drumming against the desk's surface. "There have been some concerning developments that require immediate attention." Marcus straightened, his training kicking in. "What kind of developments, Your Majesty?" "Intelligence suggests there may be threats against the princess's safety. I'm concerned about her current living arrangements within the palace. The East Wing, where her chambers are located, has several security vulnerabilities that I believe we can no longer ignore." This was news to Marcus. He had personally overseen the security upgrades to the East Wing just 6 months ago. The area was one of the most secure in the entire palace, with state-of-the-art surveillance systems and multiple checkpoints. "Your Majesty, I'm not aware of any new security concerns. Could you provide more details about these threats?" Queen Catherine's eyes narrowed slightly. "The information is classified, Captain. What I need from you is a comprehensive report on alternative accommodations for the princess. I'm considering moving her to the Northern Tower, where we can better control access and monitor potential threats." Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. The Northern Tower had been used historically to house political prisoners and unwanted family members. It was isolated with limited access to the main palace and virtually no connection to the outside world. Moving Princess Elena there would effectively cut her off from court life, her friends, and her duties as heir to the throne. "Your Majesty, the Northern Tower hasn't been used for residential purposes in decades. It would require extensive renovations to make it suitable for the princess. Perhaps we could explore other options that wouldn't isolate her from her royal duties." The Queen's expression hardened. "Captain Stone, I wasn't asking for your opinion on the suitability of my decisions. I was giving you an order. I expect that report on my desk by tomorrow morning, detailing exactly what would be required to make the Northern Tower secure and habitable." As Marcus left the blue drawing room, his mind raced with questions. In his 12 years of service, Queen Catherine had never made such a request. Princess Elena was beloved by the people and had been preparing to take on more royal responsibilities as she approached her 25th birthday. Moving her to the Northern Tower made no sense from a security standpoint. But it made perfect sense if someone wanted to remove her from the line of succession. Walking back to his office, Marcus decided to conduct his own investigation. He pulled the security files for the past month, looking for any unusual incidents or security breaches. What he found troubled him deeply. There were no new threats, no intelligence reports suggesting danger to the princess. and no security vulnerabilities in the East Wing that hadn't been addressed months ago, that afternoon. Marcus positioned himself strategically in the palace gardens where he knew Princess Elena often walked when troubled. Sure enough, she appeared around 3 o'clock, her usually bright demeanor replaced by obvious distress. Her long brown hair was pulled back severely, and her green eyes, normally sparkling with intelligence and humor, seemed clouded with worry. "Captain Stone," she greeted him with a weak smile. "I'm surprised to see you here. Shouldn't you be reviewing security protocols or planning my relocation to some distant corner of the palace?" Marcus's blood ran cold. "Your Highness, what do you mean by relocation?" Princess Elena stopped walking and turned to face him fully. "My mother informed me this morning that you've recommended moving me to the Northern Tower for security reasons. She said there were new threats that made my current chambers unsafe." Her voice carried a note of suspicion that suggested she didn't believe the explanation any more than Marcus did. "Your Highness, I must tell you that I have made no such recommendation. In fact, I only learned of this proposal an hour ago when the Queen summoned me. I've found no evidence of any new security threats that would justify such a drastic measure." The princess's eyes widened, and for a moment Marcus saw fear flicker across her face. "Then why would my mother want me moved to the tower? Everyone knows what that place represents. It's where unwanted royals are sent to disappear from public view." Marcus glanced around the garden, ensuring they weren't being observed or overheard. "Your Highness, I believe something larger is happening here. With your permission, I'd like to investigate this matter more thoroughly. But I need you to be very careful about who you trust and what you say until we understand what's really going on." Princess Elena nodded slowly, her royal training helping her maintain composure despite the shocking revelation. "Captain Stone, my 25th birthday is in 6 weeks. According to royal law, that's when I officially become heir apparent and gain certain legal protections. Do you think the timing of this relocation is coincidental?" Marcus had been thinking the same thing. "I don't believe in coincidences when it comes to royal succession, Your Highness. We need to move carefully, but we need to move quickly." That night, Marcus conducted the most dangerous investigation of his career. Using his security clearance, he accessed the palace archives, searching for any precedent that might explain Queen Catherine's sudden interest in relocating Princess Elena. What he discovered in the dusty historical records made his blood run cold. The Northern Tower had indeed been used to house problematic royals throughout the centuries. Prince Edward in 1847 had been moved there after challenging his mother's right to name his younger brother as heir. Princess Margaret in 1923 had been relocated after she began questioning the legitimacy of certain royal decrees. In both cases, the royals had mysteriously died within months of their relocation, officially from illness. But the circumstances had always been suspicious. Marcus photographed the relevant documents with his personal phone, being careful not to trigger any security protocols. As he worked, he noticed a pattern in the records that made him increasingly uneasy. Each relocation had occurred approximately 6 weeks before the royal's significant birthday, the same timing as Princess Elena's situation. "Working late, Captain." Marcus spun around to find Lord Chancellor William Hartwell standing in the archive doorway. Hartwell was Queen Catherine's chief advisor and had served the crown for nearly 20 years. His thin frame and angular face gave him a hawk-like appearance that had always made Marcus uncomfortable. "Lord Hartwell, I was reviewing historical security protocols for the Northern Tower." "As requested by Her Majesty," Marcus replied, keeping his voice steady while discreetly closing the historical files. "How diligent of you," Hartwell said, stepping into the archive room. "I trust you're finding everything you need for your report?" "The Queen is quite anxious to proceed with the princess's relocation as soon as possible." "I'm making good progress, sir." "May I ask why the urgency? Has there been a specific threat made against Princess Elena?" Hartwell's cold blue eyes studied Marcus carefully. "Captain Stone, there are aspects of royal security that operate above your clearance level. Your job is to implement protection measures, not to question the intelligence that drives them. I suggest you focus on completing your report rather than asking unnecessary questions." After Hartwell left, Marcus realized he was now under suspicion. He needed to be more careful, but he also needed to gather more evidence. The next morning, he arranged to meet with Lieutenant Mitchell in the palace's old chapel, one of the few places not covered by modern surveillance equipment. Sarah. Mitchell had served loyally alongside Marcus for years, and he trusted her completely. When he explained what he had discovered, her face went pale. "Sir, are you suggesting that Queen Catherine is planning to harm Princess Elena?" "I'm suggesting that someone doesn't want Elena to reach her 25th birthday and claim her legal position as heir apparent. Whether that's the Queen herself or someone acting on her behalf, I can't yet determine." Sarah pulled out a small notebook. "Sir, I've been noticing some unusual activity myself. Yesterday I overheard a conversation between Lord Hartwell and Dr. Pemberton, the royal physician. They were discussing something about ensuring the princess's health remained stable during the transition. When they saw me, they stopped talking immediately." Dr. Pemberton's involvement was particularly troubling. He had been the royal physician for 15 years and had access to the princes at all times. If someone wanted to harm Elena while making it appear natural, a trusted doctor would be the perfect accomplice. "Sarah, I need you to do something very dangerous. I want you to volunteer for extra shifts guarding the princess. Stay close to her at all times, especially when she's eating or taking any medication. Don't let anyone give her anything without your direct observation." That afternoon, Marcus received an unexpected summons from Princess Elena herself. She wanted to meet in the palace library, surrounded by thousands of books where their conversation could be disguised as research assistants. When he arrived, he found her reading a thick volume on constitutional law. "Captain Stone, I've been doing some research of my own," she said quietly, not looking up from her book. "According to royal law, once I turn 25, I gain the right to challenge any decision made about my person or position. I also gain control over my own security detail and living arrangements." Marcus sat down across from her, pretending to help with her research while they talked. "Your Highness, that's exactly what I suspected. Someone wants you out of the picture before you gain those legal protections?" "I've also discovered something else interesting," Elena continued, turning a page. "My father's will, which was sealed until my 25th birthday, apparently contains provisions that some people might find inconvenient. My personal lawyer, Mr. Harrison, hinted that there are instructions regarding the succession that haven't been made public. This was a crucial piece of information. If King Frederick's will contain surprises about the succession, it would explain why certain parties might want Elena removed before she could access it. Your Highness, do you know where this will is kept? In the royal vault under triple security? Only the reigning monarch and the heir apparent on their 25th birthday can access it. But Captain Stone, I'm beginning to think my mother knows what's in that will, and she doesn't want me to see it." Their conversation was interrupted when Lord Hartwell appeared between the library stacks. "Your Highness, your mother has asked me to inform you that the northern tower is being prepared for your relocation. The move will take place in 3 days." Princess Elena's composure was remarkable as she closed her book and looked up at Hartwell. "Lord Chancellor, I appreciate my mother's concern for my safety, but I would prefer to review the security assessment myself before agreeing to such a dramatic change." "I'm afraid that's not possible, Your Highness. The security information is classified and the decision has already been made. Captain Stone will provide you with all the details you need to know." After Hartwell left, Marcus and Elena sat in tense silence for several minutes. Finally, the princess spoke. "Captain Stone, I don't think I'm going to survive long in the northern tower. Whatever my mother is planning, she needs me isolated and vulnerable to carry it out." Marcus had reached the same conclusion. "Your Highness, I believe we need to consider more drastic measures. With your permission, I'd like to explore alternative options for ensuring your safety." Princess Elena met his eyes directly. "Captain Stone, are you suggesting that I disappear before they can move me to the tower?" "I'm suggesting that sometimes the best way to protect someone is to make them temporarily unreachable to those who wish them harm. But such a plan would be extremely dangerous and would require absolute trust between us." Elena was quiet for a long moment, weighing the risks. If my own mother is plotting against me, then I have no choice but to trust the people who have sworn to protect me. Captain Stone, I'm prepared to do whatever is necessary to survive until my 25th birthday. What do you have in mind? Marcus leaned closer, his voice barely a whisper. We're going to stage your kidnapping. The plan Marcus proposed was audacious and dangerous, but it was their only chance to keep Princess Elena safe while gathering evidence of the conspiracy against her. They would stage a kidnapping during Elena's transfer to the Northern Tower, making it appear that unknown assailants had abducted her during transport. This would give them time to investigate while keeping Elena hidden and safe. We'll need help from people we trust absolutely, Marcus explained as they finalized the details. Lieutenant Mitchell is already involved, but we'll need at least 2 more guards who are loyal to you personally, not just to the crown. Princess Elena thought carefully. Sergeant James Crawford has been with my detail for 5 years. His sister works in the palace kitchens, and he's mentioned concerns about recent changes in the staff. I also trust Corporal Maria Santos completely. She once saved my life during an assassination attempt 3 years ago. Over the next 24 hours, Marcus carefully approached both guards. The conversations were delicate, he needed to gauge their loyalty without revealing too much until he was certain of their allegiance. Both Crawford and Santos were shocked by the allegations against Queen Catherine, but their devotion to Princess Elena ultimately won out over their surprise. Sir, if the princess is in danger from within the palace, then we have no choice but to act, Sergeant Crawford said grimly. I've noticed things too, changes in routines, new staff members appearing without proper background checks, and conversations that stop when I enter a room. Corporal Santos was more direct. Captain, I swore an oath to protect Princess Elena's life, not to follow orders that might get her killed. If you believe this is our only option, then I'm with you completely. Meanwhile, Princess Elena was conducting her own dangerous research. Using her access to royal communications, she had discovered a series of encrypted messages between Lord Hartwell and someone identified only as the beneficiary. The messages were coded, but their timing corresponded exactly with the planning for her relocation to the Northern Tower. The latest message arrived this morning, Elena told Marcus during a brief meeting in the palace gardens. It says the package will be delivered to the secure location as planned. Final arrangements should be completed within 1 week of delivery. Captain Stone, I think they're planning to kill me within a week of moving me to the tower. The urgency of their situation intensified when Dr. Pemberton unexpectedly appeared at Elena's chambers that evening with what he claimed was a preventive treatment for the stress of her upcoming relocation. Lieutenant Mitchell, now constantly at Elena's side, immediately became suspicious when the doctor insisted on privacy for the injection. I'm sorry, Dr. Pemberton, but Captain Stone has ordered that Princess Elena not be left alone with anyone during the security transition, Sarah said firmly, positioning herself between the doctor and the princess. Dr. Pemberton's face flushed with anger. Lieutenant, I am the royal physician. I don't need a guard's permission to treat my patient. This injection is essential for the princess's well-being. What exactly is in the injection, doctor? Elena asked, her voice calm but suspicious. I don't recall requesting any medical treatment. It's a mild sedative to help you sleep better during these stressful times, Your Highness. Queen Catherine specifically requested that I provide it to help you adjust to the upcoming changes. Elena and Sarah exchanged meaningful glances. A sedative before a move to an isolated location was exactly the kind of preparation that would facilitate more sinister plans. Doctor, I appreciate the concern, but I prefer to manage my stress through exercise and meditation. Please thank my mother for her thoughtfulness, but I won't be needing the injection. Dr. Pemberton left, clearly frustrated, but his visit had revealed how quickly the conspiracy was moving. That night, Marcus received confirmation that Princess Elena would be transferred to the Northern Tower in just 36 hours. They had to act immediately. The fake kidnapping would take place during the transfer, at a remote section of the road between the palace and the tower where the convoy would be most vulnerable. Marcus spent the night creating fake evidence of an outside threat, He planted communications suggesting that foreign agents had infiltrated the kingdom and were targeting the royal family. This would provide cover for the kidnapping and explain why the attackers had such detailed knowledge of the princess's movements. Lieutenant Mitchell had the most dangerous job. She would be the inside source who would reluctantly reveal under questioning that she had noticed suspicious activity around the palace in recent days. Her testimony would support the foreign agent theory and deflect suspicion from their group. On the morning of the transfer, Princess Elena appeared remarkably calm as she prepared for what everyone else believed would be her move to the Northern Tower. She had packed only essential items, leaving behind anything that might suggest she knew she wouldn't be returning. In her final conversation with Queen Catherine, she played her part perfectly. "Mother, I want you to know that I understand you're doing this for my protection," Elena said, embracing the Queen warmly. "I trust your judgment completely." Queen Catherine seemed surprised by her daughter's acceptance. "Elena, I'm glad you understand. This is temporary, just until the security situation improves. You'll be comfortable in the tower, and you'll have everything you need. Will I be able to attend court functions from there? I don't want to neglect my royal duties." "That won't be necessary for now. Your safety is the priority. Lord Hartwell will handle any urgent matters that require royal attention." As Elena left for the transfer, she caught Marcus's eye briefly. The look they shared was full of determination and trust. They both knew that the next few hours would determine whether she lived to claim her birthright or disappeared forever into the conspiracy that threatened to destroy her. The convoy consisted of 3 vehicles, an advanced security car, the princess's armored limousine, and a follow car with additional guards. Marcus rode in the follow car, positioned to coordinate the fake attack. Sergeant Crawford drove the princess's vehicle, while Corporal Santos was in the advance car, ready to create the diversion that would make their plan possible. As they approached the predetermined location, a stretch of forest road where the trees provided perfect cover, Marcus felt his heart racing. Everything had to happen exactly as planned, or Princess Elena would either end up dead in the Northern Tower or exposed as part of a conspiracy against her own mother. The attack began with Santos reporting engine trouble in the advance car, causing the convoy to slow down. At that moment, smoke grenades deployed from the forest on both sides of the road, creating instant chaos and confusion. Marcus and his team, wearing masks and fake insignia, emerged from the trees as the princess's limousine came to a stop. "This is a kidnapping," Marcus shouted, playing his role as the lead attacker. "Everyone out of the vehicles, now." In the confusion, Princess Elena was forcibly removed from her vehicle and disappeared into the forest. The loyal guards put up just enough resistance to make the attack look real, while the remaining security personnel, who were not part of the plan, believed they were witnessing an actual abduction. Within minutes, the fake attackers had vanished into the forest with their captive, leaving behind a scene of apparent devastation and a mystery that would soon reach the highest levels of the kingdom. The safe house Marcus had prepared was a small hunting lodge deep in the Thornwood Forest, about 30 miles from the palace. It belonged to his retired predecessor, Captain William Nash, who had served the royal family for 40 years before stepping down due to health issues. Nash had always been suspicious of the political currents in the palace, and when Marcus explained the situation, the old captain immediately offered his assistance. "I've seen this kind of palace intrigue before," Nash said grimly as he helped settle Princess Elena into the lodge. "Your father wasn't the first king to die under mysterious circumstances, and ambitious relatives have been eliminating inconvenient heirs for centuries. You're smart to get out before they could complete their plan." Princess Elena was remarkably composed for someone who had just faked her own kidnapping. She had changed from her royal attire into simple civilian clothes, jeans, a sweater, and hiking boots, transforming from a recognizable princess into an ordinary young woman. "Captain Nash, do you think my father's death wasn't natural?" The old captain exchanged a meaningful look with Marcus before answering. "Your Highness, King Frederick was in perfect health 1 week and dead from a heart attack the next. The royal physician, Dr. Pemberton, said it was genetic, but your father had no family history of heart problems. I had my suspicions then, but I had no proof and no power to investigate. This revelation added another layer to the conspiracy they were uncovering. If Queen Catherine had been involved in her husband's death, then eliminating Elena was simply the next step in consolidating power. But they needed concrete evidence. Not just suspicions if they were going to expose the plot and ensure Elena's safe return to her rightful position. Marcus had established a communication system using encrypted phones that would allow their team to stay in contact while maintaining the illusion that Elena was being held by unknown kidnappers. Lieutenant Mitchell was back at the palace, playing her role as a traumatized guard who had witnessed the abduction. Her job was to gather intelligence about the palace's response to Elena's disappearance. The news of Princess Elena's kidnapping sent shockwaves through the kingdom. Within hours, Queen Catherine had declared a national emergency and imposed martial law, giving her unprecedented powers to search for her daughter and bring the kidnappers to justice. But Marcus's contacts within the palace security force reported some disturbing details about the Queen's actual response. "Sir, this is Lieutenant Morrison reporting," came the voice through Marcus's encrypted phone. Morrison was a junior guard who had always looked up to Marcus and could be trusted to observe without asking questions. The Queen's initial reaction to news of the kidnapping was strange. She didn't seem shocked or panicked like you'd expect from a mother whose child had been taken. She immediately started giving orders about increasing security around the palace and limiting access to information about the investigation. Even more suspicious was the fact that Queen Catherine had immediately called off all search efforts in the Thornwood Forest, claiming that the kidnappers would never hide so close to the palace. Instead, she was focusing the search on the northern borders. Far from where Elena was actually hiding, Princess Elena spent her first day in hiding reading through the documents Marcus had photographed from the palace archives. Her legal training served her well as she analyzed the historical patterns and began to piece together the full scope of the conspiracy against her. "Marcus, I think this goes beyond just removing me from the succession. Look at these financial records from previous relocations to the Northern Tower." The documents revealed that each time a royal had been moved to the tower, significant portions of the crown's assets had been quietly transferred or sold. If Elena died or was declared unfit to rule, Queen Catherine would have complete control over the royal treasury and the kingdom's resources until another heir could be established, which could take years of legal proceedings. "Your Highness, we're not just talking about succession here. We're looking at what amounts to the systematic looting of the kingdom's wealth," Marcus realized. "With you out of the way, your mother could drain the royal accounts and transfer the money to private holdings before anyone could challenge her actions." That evening, their investigation took a dramatic turn when Corporal Santos made contact with devastating news. Using her position to monitor communications, she had intercepted a message between Lord Hartwell and an unknown contact discussing the next phase of their plan. "Captain, they're not just planning to wait for Princess Elena to be returned," Santos reported. "The message talks about accelerating the timeline due to unexpected complications. They're going to claim that the kidnappers have made demands that the kingdom cannot meet, and they'll declare Princess Elena dead within 48 hours. This meant that Elena would be legally declared deceased, allowing Queen Catherine to claim full control of the throne and the royal assets. Even if Elena later proved she was alive, challenging a legal declaration of death would take months or years in court, time that could be used to complete the financial transfers and consolidate power. "We need to move faster than we planned," Marcus told the group. "We have less than 2 days to gather enough evidence to expose this conspiracy and prove Princess Elena is alive and safe." Princess Elena made a crucial decision. "Marcus, I want to contact my father's former private secretary, Mr. Charles Whitmore. He was dismissed by my mother shortly after the funeral, officially for budget reasons, but he had access to my father's private papers and communications. If there's evidence of foul play in my father's death, he might know about it. Contacting Whitmore was risky. Any communication could potentially be traced back to their location. But Captain Nash had an idea. My nephew works as a courier in the city. He's completely trustworthy and has no connection to the palace. He can make contact with Whitmore and arrange a meeting. Within 12 hours, they had their answer. Whitmore agreed to meet, but only at a location of his choosing and only with Princess Elena present to verify her identity. He had information about King Frederick's death that he had been too frightened to reveal while Queen Catherine was watching him. The meeting was set for the next evening at an abandoned church about 20 miles from their hiding place. It would be dangerous. Moving Elena increased their risk of discovery, but Whitmore insisted that what he had to share could only be told directly to the Princess as they prepared for the meeting. Marcus reflected on how much their situation had changed in just a few days. What had started as a simple security concern had become a race to expose a conspiracy that reached the highest levels of the kingdom. Princess Elena's life hung in the balance, but so did the future of the entire realm. Captain Stone, Elena said as they prepared to leave for the church, whatever happens tonight, I want you to know that I'm grateful for everything you've done. You've risked your career and your life to protect me. Marcus looked at the young woman who should have been safely preparing for her 25th birthday and her coronation as heir apparent. Instead, she was hiding in a forest cabin, fighting for her life against her own mother. Your Highness, protecting the rightful ruler of this kingdom isn't just my job. It's my duty to the people, who depend on having a legitimate government. We're going to see this through to the end. As night fell and they prepared to leave for the most dangerous meeting of their lives, Marcus couldn't shake the feeling that they were walking into a trap. But with time running out and Princess Elena's legal death declaration looming, they had no choice but to take the risk. The abandoned St. Catherine's Church stood like a dark sentinel against the moonless sky. Built in the 14th century and abandoned decades ago when the parish moved to a modern building, it was the perfect location for a clandestine meeting. Marcus had arrived an hour early with Sergeant Crawford to secure the area, while Princess Elena waited in their vehicle with Captain Nash, ready to approach only when they were certain it was safe. Charles Whitmore appeared precisely at midnight, his tall, thin frame recognizable even in the darkness. At 72 years old, he had served King Frederick faithfully for 25 years before being unceremoniously dismissed by Queen Catherine. As he entered the church through the creaking wooden doors, Marcus could see the weight of secrets in his stooped shoulders. Mr. Whitmore. Thank you for coming, Princess Elena said softly as she approached him in the church's shadowy interior. I need to know what really happened to my father. The old secretary's eyes filled with tears as he recognized the princess. Your Highness, I have prayed every night that someone would ask me that question. I have been carrying a terrible burden since your father's death. Whitmore reached into his coat and withdrew a sealed envelope. 3 days before your father died, he gave me this letter with strict instructions. I was to keep it safe and only open it if anything happened to him. When he died so suddenly, I was too frightened to act on its contents. But when I heard you had been kidnapped, I realized I could no longer remain silent. Princess Elena opened the envelope with trembling fingers. Inside was a letter in her father's distinctive handwriting, along with copies of several financial documents. As she read by flashlight, her face grew pale. My beloved Elena, the letter began, if you are reading this, then my suspicions about Catherine have proven correct, and I am likely dead. I have discovered that your stepmother has been systematically embezzling from the royal treasury for years, transferring money to accounts controlled by Lord Hartwell and others in her inner circle. More disturbing, I have evidence that she has been meeting secretly with representatives of the neighboring kingdom of Valdoria, discussing terms for a potential alliance that would essentially make our kingdom a vassal state. The letter continued with devastating details. King Frederick had discovered that Queen Catherine's marriage to him was part of a long-term plan to gain access to the kingdom's wealth and strategic resources. She had been slowly poisoning him with small doses of a rare toxin that mimicked heart disease. planning to eliminate him once she had secured her position and identified all the kingdom's most valuable assets. The most important thing, Elena, is that she must never gain access to the royal vault. Your 25th birthday gives you legal authority to challenge any decisions made in my name after my death. There is a document in the vault that exposes Catherine's treason and provides evidence of her crimes. She will do anything to prevent you from reaching that vault. Marcus read over Elena's shoulder, his anger growing with each revelation. Your Highness, this explains everything. She's not just trying to steal your inheritance, she's trying to steal the entire kingdom. Whitmore nodded grimly. There's more, Your Highness. I have been monitoring communications since your father's death. Queen Catherine has been in regular contact with Valdorian agents. They're planning to announce your death tomorrow and immediately begin negotiations for a merger agreement. That would make Catherine the governor of our kingdom under Valdorian authority. The scope of the conspiracy was staggering. This wasn't just about personal ambition or greed. It was about the complete dissolution of their sovereignty as an independent kingdom. Princess Elena would need to return to the palace and claim her legal rights immediately, but doing so would put her in mortal danger. Mr. Whitmore, do you have any of the evidence my father mentioned? The financial records, the communications with Valdoria? Elena asked. I have copies of everything, Your Highness. Your father was very thorough in documenting Catherine's activities. But the most damaging evidence is in the royal vault, in a secret compartment that only you can access. With your birthright key? The birthright key was a tradition dating back centuries. Each heir apparent received a unique key on their 25th birthday that provided access to the most sensitive royal documents. It was both a symbol and a practical tool of royal authority. As they prepared to leave the church, Sergeant Crawford, who had been monitoring the approaches, suddenly signaled for silence. Vehicle lights were approaching through the forest, multiple vehicles moving fast and with purpose. They found us, Marcus whispered urgently. Everyone out now. But as they reached the church doors, the sound of helicopters filled the air. Spotlights suddenly illuminated the church from above, and amplified voices echoed through the night. This is the Royal Guard. The church is surrounded. Come out with your hands visible. Marcus realized with growing horror that they had walked into a carefully planned trap. Someone had leaked information about their meeting with Whitmore, and Queen Catherine's forces had been waiting for them to reveal themselves. There's a way out through the church crypt, Whitmore said urgently. I explored this building as a child. The underground passage connects to an old tunnel system that leads to the river. As they made their way down into the dark crypt, Marcus's mind raced through the possibilities. Someone in their trusted circle had betrayed them, or their communications had been compromised. Either way, their safe house was likely no longer secure, and they were running out of places to hide. The crypt was cold and filled with ancient stone sarcophagi. Whitmore led them through a maze of passages lit only by their flashlights, moving with surprising agility for his age. Behind them, they could hear the sounds of the Royal Guard entering the church and beginning their search. The tunnel opens near Miller's Bridge, Whitmore explained as they navigated the underground passage. From there, you can reach the old mining roads that lead back toward the capital. Princess Elena was remarkably calm despite their desperate situation. Marcus, we need to get to the palace before they can declare me dead. Even if it's dangerous, it's our only chance to expose the conspiracy before it's too late. As they emerged from the tunnel near the river, Marcus realized that their only option was the most dangerous one, a direct assault on the palace to reach the royal vault before Queen Catherine could complete her plans. They would be outnumbered, outgunned, and walking into hostile territory, but they had the advantage of surprise and the legitimacy of Princess Elena's legal rights. Your Highness, are you prepared for what this means? We're essentially going to war against your own mother and the people who should be protecting you. Elena's response revealed the steel beneath her royal upbringing. Captain Stone, my mother stopped being my family the moment she chose treason over love. The people of this kingdom deserve better than to be sold to foreign powers by someone who swore to protect them. We're not going to war against my family, we're going to war to save our country. As they made their way through the forest toward an uncertain confrontation, Marcus reflected on the transformation he had witnessed in Princess Elena, the sheltered royal he had been assigned to. Protect had become a determined leader willing to risk everything for her people. Whatever happened in the next few hours, he was proud to stand beside her. Dawn was breaking over Ravencrest Palace as Princess Elena and her loyal guards approached through the ancient service tunnels that connected the royal grounds to the surrounding countryside. These passages, built centuries ago as escape routes during sieges, had been forgotten by most palace staff but were well known to Captain Nash, who had used them during security drills decades earlier. The plan was audacious in its simplicity. While Queen Catherine's forces were still searching the forest for Elena's kidnappers, the real princess would enter the palace through routes that security wouldn't think to monitor. Once inside, she would make her way to the royal vault and retrieve the evidence that would expose the conspiracy against her and the kingdom. Remember, Your Highness, once we're inside, we have maybe 30 minutes before someone recognizes you and alerts Queen Catherine, Marcus warned as they prepared to enter the tunnel system. We need to reach the vault, document everything, and get you to a position where you can make a public announcement before they can silence you. Lieutenant Mitchell had been secretly preparing the groundwork from inside the palace. Using her access to the security systems, she had identified the optimal route to the royal vault and ensured that certain surveillance cameras would experience technical difficulties at precisely the right moments. She had also been spreading word among the loyal palace staff that something important was about to happen. The tunnels were narrow and dark, requiring them to move in single file with only minimal lighting. Princess Elena, despite her royal upbringing, navigated the cramped passages without complaint, her determination driving her forward despite the physical discomfort and mounting danger. Your Highness, whispered Charles Whitmore, who had insisted on accompanying them despite his age. When we reach the vault, remember that your father's secret compartment is behind the portrait of King Edmund the Wise. The mechanism requires both your birthright seal and a specific sequence based on your birthday. As they approached the palace foundations, they could hear the sounds of increased activity above, guards running, vehicles arriving, and the general chaos of an organization under pressure. Queen Catherine was clearly mobilizing every resource to find her missing daughter before the deadline for declaring Elena legally dead. The service tunnel opened into the palace's wine cellar, a vast underground chamber filled with centuries-old bottles and largely ignored by modern palace staff. From here, they would need to move carefully through the lower levels to reach the royal vault without being detected. Lieutenant Mitchell was waiting for them in the cellar, her face grim with urgency. Your Highness, the situation upstairs is critical. Queen Catherine has scheduled a press conference for noon today to announce that the kidnappers' demands cannot be met and that you are presumed dead. Lord Hartwell is already preparing the paperwork to transfer emergency powers to the Queen as regent. How much time do we have? Elena asked. 3 hours maximum. But Your Highness, there's something else. I've been monitoring communications, and Queen Catherine has been in contact with Valdorian representatives all morning. They're planning to announce the alliance agreement immediately after your death is declared. The urgency of their situation crystallized Elena's resolve. Then we move now. Marcus, get me to that vault. The journey through the palace's lower levels was tense but successful. Mitchell had done her work well, the surveillance blind spots held, and they encountered no guards in the critical corridors. When they finally reached the royal vault, an imposing steel door set into the palace's original stone foundations, Princess Elena took a deep breath before presenting her identification. The vault security system recognized her immediately, but also registered an alert that would notify palace security of the access. They had minutes before guards would arrive to investigate. Inside the vault, shelves lined with historical documents and royal treasures stretched back into shadows. Princess Elena moved immediately to the portrait of King Edmund the Wise, her father's favorite ancestor. Behind it, as Whitmore had promised, was a concealed panel that opened to reveal a hidden chamber. The secret compartment contained files that documented 3 years of investigation into Queen Catherine's activities. Bank records showing systematic transfers of royal funds, intercepted communications with Valdorian agents, medical records proving that King Frederick had been slowly poisoned, and most damning of all, a recording of a conversation between Catherine and Lord Hartwell discussing the timeline for eliminating Elena. "My God," Elena breathed as she reviewed the evidence. "She's been planning this since before she married my father. The entire relationship was a fraud designed to gain access to our kingdom's resources." Marcus was monitoring the vault entrance, listening for approaching guards. "Your Highness, we need to move. I can hear footsteps in the upper corridor." But Elena wasn't finished. In the deepest part of the hidden chamber, she found her father's final gift, a complete dossier on Valdorian military capabilities and invasion plans. Queen Catherine wasn't just planning to sell the kingdom. She was preparing to hand it over to an enemy that intended to strip it of all valuable resources before abandoning it. She's not just a traitor, Elena realized. She's an advance agent for a foreign conquest. As they prepared to leave the vault with the evidence, alarms suddenly began blaring throughout the palace. Their presence had been detected, and security forces would be converging on their location within minutes. "Your Highness," Marcus said urgently, "we have 2 choices. We can try to escape and find another way to expose this information, or we can make our stand here and force a public confrontation." Princess Elena looked at the evidence in her hands, proof that could save her kingdom, but only if she survived long enough to present it. She thought of her father's sacrifice, of the loyal guards who had risked everything to protect her, and of the people who deserved to know that their queen was planning to sell their independence to foreign invaders. "We make our stand here," she decided. "Marcus, contact every news organization, every social media platform, every communication channel you can access. I want this evidence broadcast to the entire kingdom before Queen Catherine can silence us." Lieutenant Mitchell was already working on her phone, uploading files to multiple secure servers and news outlets. "Your Highness, I'm streaming this live to every platform I can access. Whatever happens next, the evidence will be public." The sound of approaching guards grew louder, but Elena felt a strange calm settle over her. For the first time since discovering the conspiracy against her, she wasn't running or hiding. She was standing in the heart of her family's legacy, surrounded by loyal protectors, ready to fight for her kingdom's survival. When Queen Catherine's guards finally reached the vault, they found Princess Elena standing calmly in the center of the chamber, surrounded by documents and flanked by her loyal defenders. She looked directly into their weapons and spoke with the authority of a true ruler. "I am Princess Elena, heir apparent to this kingdom, and I am very much alive. I have evidence of treason at the highest levels of government, and I demand to address the people immediately." The guards hesitated, uncertain whether to follow their orders to capture or eliminate Elena, or to acknowledge her royal authority. In that moment of hesitation, the sound of approaching sirens filled the air. The evidence Lieutenant Mitchell had uploaded was already spreading across the kingdom, and the people were demanding answers. Queen Catherine's conspiracy had been exposed. But the final confrontation between mother and daughter, between treason and loyalty, was still to come. Princess Elena had survived to fight for her birthright, and now the entire kingdom would witness whether justice or corruption would ultimately prevail. The kingdom's future hung in the balance as 2 women prepared to face each other across a throne room that could only have one true ruler.